pesadar, le con so skiri, 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 skiri. Cuma boleh mau keken lekong lekong betong lekong betong 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 lekong lekong betong lekong betong 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 lekong betong keken so jadi melong karena pe banyak lekong jalur-jalur baku jalur so mulai mebong. So skiri, 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 skiri. skidi, 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 skidi. Hari malam cuma borak, aduh eke dapat lupa, sampai eke sudah pabende, eke sadar lekong sosanda. Aduh banyak lekong, mari eke tak kesontong, cuma boleh mau keken lekong lekong betong lekong betong 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 lekong lekong betong lekong betong 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 mau keken eke so jadi melong karena pe banyak lekong jalur-jalur baku jalur eke so mulai mebong. Hari malam cuma borak, aduh eke dapat lupa, sampai eke sudah pabende, eke sadar lekong sosanda. Pas eke besadar lekong sos skidi, 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 skidi. Eke so mebong, eke so mebong, eke so mebong, eke so mebong. Eke besadar lekong so skidi, 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 skidi. Hari malam cuma borak, aduh eke dapat lupa, sampai eke sudah pabende, eke sadar lekong sosanda. Aduh banyak lekong, mari eke tak kesontong, cuma boleh mau keken lekong lekong betong lekong betong 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 lekong betong 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 lekong betong 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 lekong betong.
This is Star Training Center. STAR Training Center envisions itself to be a strategic and relevant seminars and training provider that empowers its participants with a renewed sense of excellence in research and education. It zealously commits itself to providing quality seminars and training in research and education at the least cost for excellence and continuous growth. STAR Training Center is guided by its core values, namely service, transcendence, act of integrity, and respect. This is STAR Training Center, sustaining teacher leadership and academic vitality through research. Let us remember that we are in the loving presence of our Lord. Lord, we offer you our webinar today. Make this a safe and healthy place for learning. Help us to be engaged and challenged as we go on through our topic today. Support us so that all our learning activities be accomplished for your greater glory. Above all, help us to have a good heart so we can be an instrument to do good things. We ask all these in your glorious name. Amen. Before we begin this webinar, here are some important house rules that we shall observe during the entire duration of our webinar. First, stay focused and don't multitask. Also, please close all apps that could influence connection speed. Second, take notes. Take down the key ideas you will hear. Third, ask questions concisely. You may type your questions in the chat box. Our learning facilitator will try to address all your questions during the question and answer portion. Lastly, respect the learning facilitator and other participants. Be respectful. Keep your contributions helpful and considerate of the learning facilitator and other participants. Thank you.
Blessed Sunday to everyone. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. We are now on our fourth live session of our 15-day capacity development program on data analysis. And for today's session, our topic will be about validity of research instrument, which will be facilitated by Dr. Carlo P. Magno. Allow me to introduce our speaker first. Dr. Carlo Magno is a board member of the Philippine Educational Measurement and Evaluation Association. He is the founder of the Center for Learning and Assessment Development Asia. His specialized area is on measurement, evaluation, and the analysis of test data, particularly that of item response theory. He was trained in structural equation modeling in Free Universität in Berlin, Germany. He has constructed several standardized measures, scales, and tests for various purposes in the educational context. He received numerous awards in line with his research work, such as the Outstanding Scientific Paper for Social Science in 2008 by the National Academy of Science and Technology, Honorary Regional Advisor of Time Taylor International, Simeo Inotech Research Fellow, and the 2011 Outstanding Young Scientist in the Republic of the Philippines. He is one of the 200 renowned global scientists given recognition by the Global Science Academy. He published over 110 publications in scientific, refereed, and abstracted journals. He is presently the top 91 highly cited scientists in the country reported by Google Scholar through webometrics across 500 Filipino scientists. In education, He received recognition for excellence in teaching, such as Students' Choice Award by the College of Education in De La Salle University, 2011 Lasallian Excellence Award Student Search for Outstanding Teacher, Best Junior Faculty in Psychology. He was commissioned by the Department of Education in 2011 in writing the report for policy recommendations for the K-12 and the 2014 assessment framework, learning and development system, principals test, and the superintendent's leadership program in 2018. He is part of the Commission of Higher Education's Technical Working Group on developing the framework and policy for flexible learning deliveries. He was recently commissioned by the Network on Education Quality Monitoring in the Asia and the Pacific by the UNESCO to review the impact of disaster and calamities on the status of high stakes testing in Southeast Asia. Dr. Magno has conducted several seminars, workshops, and lectures on educational development in teaching, learning, and assessment around Southeast Asia, Middle East, and the Pacific. He is also a consultant to various Ministry of Education in developing countries in the Pacific like Palau, Micronesia, Marshall Islands, and Samoa. He served as a consultant in various sectors such as the Department of Education, National Council of Indigenous People, and other private institutions like the De La Salle College of St. Benil, Xavier School, Far Eastern University, Malayan Colleges Laguna and Mindanao, Mapua University, University of Bohol, Biliran Province State University, and Asian Institute of Management. Before I turn over, before I fully turn over the screen to our resource speaker, I would like to remind everyone, I would like to inform everyone that there are 10 souls that have been selected to answer Dr. Magnus' question. Okay, I will be posting them on our chat box. Once again, our resource speaker for this Sunday morning, Dr. Carlo P. Magno. Good morning po, Doc. Hold for a while, Doc, ha. Gagawin ko po kayong co-host. There you go po, Doctor.
Okay. Good
Good morning
morning,
po.
everybody. Can I please get the good morning, everybody? Our session is going to be presentation. At the same time, there are several who would have to go through some deduction on some of the important concepts with me this morning. That's why I requested for about 10 volunteers. And I'd like to test whether the microphone and the camera of the 10 volunteers are working. May I request in advance their names and then like them to turn their camera on and say hi. So who is the first one? Hello?
Good morning po, Doctor. Hold
Yes,
for a
who
while
is the
po.
first one?
Hold for a while, Doc.
Okay.
First one is Ma'am Dayan Pakinggan.
Okay, Diane Pakinggan. Okay, so when your name is called, kindly turn on your camera and unmute and then say hi. Okay, Miss Diane Pakinggan, turn on your camera and say hi. Miss Diane. Hello, Miss Diane.
Ma'am Dayan,
Okay,
you
let's
can
move on to
unmute
the
now.
next one.
Next one would be Sir Carlo Jeromala.
Okay, Sir Carlo Heromala, turn on your camera and say hi. And hi. Okay, so sir, I'll be calling you in a while. So please be alert when I call for your name. Okay, check. Okay, number 3. Who's the third one?
Mr. Christian Nino Sasa.
Christian
Nino.
Nino Sasa. Okay, Sir Christian. Okay, say hi. Sir
Hello
Christian.
po.
Okay, hello. So I'll be calling you Sir Christian in a while. Okay, next, the fourth one.
Fourth one is Ma'am Imelda J. Briones.
Okay, Imelda Briones. Miss Imelda, turn on your camera and say hi. Miss Imelda. Miss Imelda Briones. Okay, let's change her. Okay, let's go to the fifth
Okay
one.
po. Fifth one is Mr. James Paul Ignacio.
James Paul Ignacio. Sir James, uh, please turn on your camera and say hi. Sir James. Sir James. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Who's the sixth one?
Katz Bautista. Miss Katz Bautista.
Okay, Katz Bautista. Turn on your camera and say hi. Miss Katz. Okay, just say hi, Miss Katz, if your camera is not working. We need your audio.
Hello po.
Okay, so I'll be calling you next after them, Miss Katz. So no camera. All right, then the seventh one. Who is the seventh one?
Maria Elmira Sufficiencia.
Maria Elmira
Sufficiencia.
Suficiencia. Okay, Miss Maria Elmira, turn on your
Hello po.
camera. Hello. Okay, I'll call you in a bit, Miss Elmira. Okay, number 8.
Number 8, we have Mr. Sherwin Ladrica.
Okay, Sherwin Lagrica.
Good morning po.
Okay, thanks, Sherwin. I'll be calling you in a while. Next, number 9.
Number 9, we have Miss Riza Domingo.
Okay, Miss Riza.
Hello po.
Okay, I'll be calling you in a while, Miss Riza. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, number 10.
We have Mr. Ronaldo M. Figuracion.
Ronaldo Figuracion. Okay, Sir Ronaldo, turn on your camera and say hi. Sir Ronaldo. Okay, let's change the 4.
Yes,
Okay, so let's get 4 more.
4 more. Okay po, Doc. Next is Mr. Joviner Lactam.
Okay, Sir Joviner. Sir Joviner, kindly turn your camera on and say hi. Sir Joviner. Hello, sir. Okay, let's change that one. Okay, next.
Miss Levi S. Serrano.
Okay, Levi Serrano. Okay, Levi.
Good morning po.
Okay, Miss Levi,
Hello
good
po.
morning. We'll call you in a bit. Thank you. Okay, next. 13.
Mr. Mr. Miko Jan Lopez.
Okay, Miko John Lopez. Okay, Miko.
Good morning po.
Okay, good morning. I'll call you in a bit, Miko. Thank you.
Two more,
Okay.
Doc. No?
Yes, 2 more.
Yes po. Miss Odette Pusto.
Odette.
Morning, Doc.
Okay, good morning, Miss Odette. I'll call you in a bit. Thank you. Okay, last
Okay.
one.
Last one, we have Mr. Nelson Recanil.
Okay, Nelson, Sir Nelson. Hello, Sir Nelson. Okay, we have to change Nelson. He's not responding. One more.
One more, we have Mr. Rex Salvador Tenazas.
Okay, Sir Rex. Turn
Good
your
morning.
camera. Okay, good morning. We'll call you in a bit, Sir Rex. All right. So please be alert for the following. Sir Carlo, Christian, Katz, Miss Elmira, Sherwin, Riza, Ronaldo, Risa, and then Miss Levy, Miko, Odette, and Rex. All right. So thank you very much. So let's start now with our session. Okay, you can see my screen now.
Yes, Doctor.
All right. So our session for this morning is on the validity of instruments that you will be using for research. And we have two objectives for this morning. Okay, the first one is for you to use procedures and statistical analysis to establish the validity of a test and decide whether a test is valid or reliable. And the focus will be much on test validity. And take note that we have many ways of establishing the validity of a test, an instrument, or a tool. And these are the different ways on how we establish the validity of a measure. Okay, so you have content validity, phase validity, criterion prediction validity, construct validity, concurrent validity, convergent, and divergent. And we're all going to take them one by one in this particular session. When we go through them one by one, we'll look at them conceptually, how they are done, and the kind of statistical analysis that you use in order to conduct them. And when we go through those three important points, the volunteers will be called, and there are some series of questions. And don't worry, even if your answers are not quite accurate or you don't know the answer, we'll just want to know how you deduce information from the examples or case that I have provided. Okay, let's start with the concept in general of test validity. So generally, this is what some major references on test validity is. It's defining and it's telling us that test validity, okay, is when a particular measure is measuring what it is supposed to measure. Generally, if we illustrate this particular definition, okay, in the case of a quarterly test, for example, if that quarterly test is valid, the contents should directly measure the objectives in the curriculum. So it means to say that the kind of items that you will be making should be directly aligned with the objectives or the learning competencies indicated in the list of your milk. Another example to illustrate if a measure is supposed to measure what it is supposed to measure. Okay, if you have a personality test and it is composed of 5 factors, the scores on the 5 factors should have items that are highly correlated. Okay, so if they are all highly correlated, it means to say that they all belong together in a similar construct or a similar variable. So it means to say that it's valid. Another, if an entrance exam is valid, it should be able to predict what the grades of the students will be for the first quarter or for the first semester. So these are ways on how we determine whether the test is supposed to measure what it intends to measure. Okay, however, Messick looked at expansion of validity, not only conceptually within that line of a test measuring what it is supposed to measure. Messick said that validity involves the overall evaluative judgment of the degree to which an empirical evidence and theoretical rationales support the adequacy and appropriateness of interpretations and actions based on the test scores of other modes of assessment. So it means to say that a requirement to validity are empirical evidences and a theoretical rationale, wherein when we start forwarding some theoretical rationale regarding your instrument, there should be empirical evidences or your data supporting that theoretical rationale. And the way we make interpretations about your data and all other actions and analyses that you do with your test scores should supposed to support that empirical and theoretical evidence. Later on, when we go into construct validity, we will illustrate how empirical evidences and theoretical rationales of test data is supposed to be valid and how they are interpreted to say that it is valid. Let's go to the first one, content validity. When you talk about content validity and go to the definition of MESIC, we're actually addressing one aspect of his definition, which is the theoretical rationale of the measure. Okay? So first, there's an illustration here. Okay, and then there are a series of questions. Okay, Carlo, Heromela, are you ready? Carlo, can you unmute now, Carlo?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So, Carlo, I'm going to present to you this particular case, and then we'll go through a series of question and answer regarding this particular case. Okay. So, we're now illustrating content validity. So, a coordinator in science is checking the science test paper for grade 4. She asked the grade 4 science teacher to submit the table of specifications containing the objectives of the lesson and the corresponding items for every objective. So the coordinator checked whether each item is aligned with the objectives or not. Okay, so Carlo, how are the objectives used in creating the test items? Why do we have to put the objectives in the table of specification, Carlo?
Sir, ano po, the objectives should be on the table of specification so that the targeted questions of your exam will be identified in the uh, exams you are in the questions of the exams you are putting in.
Okay, quite good explanation so that we are directed, okay, with the kind of items that we are putting in the exam. All
Yes,
right, Carlo, for example, the competence, the objective indicates explain the water cycle. Okay, so what kind of item will the teacher ask?
I think, sir, it's essay.
Okay, essay. Why essay? I agree with you that essay is a good choice. Okay, why essay?
Because, sir, when we refer to the term explain,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it indicates that the student has the mastery of the lesson we are referring to, which is the water cycle. So
Mhm.
we have to to know if the student has its mastery. So essay is the best. I think it is the best. Um, it is the best type of exam we
Mhm.
could use to measure if the student has the mastery of the lesson.
Okay, can you give me a specific question in the essay given that objective?
Um, I guess in the water cycle pa rin, sir. Water
Explain the water cycle. That's the
explain.
objective.
Okay. Um, explain the water cycle. I'm not ano po, sir. I'm not a
It's
science
okay.
major. I'm a
It's
math
okay.
teacher po kasi.
Okay.
I guess, sir, what are the process? Um, I explain the process.
Explain the process
Explain the process that
involved.
involving water cycle.
Yeah, okay. That's actually a valid essay question in terms of its content validity. You know why? Because our objective requires our students to explain. And the questions that you're asking in your essay allows them to explain. That's a valid essay question in terms of content validity. Just a little bit of correction, Carlo. You can also do explaining in multiple choice.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, sir.
You can ask which of the following best explains the water cycle, and then A, B, C, and D options are all explanations.
Okay, sir.
However, I agree with you that it's best to ask it in an essay form so that you can see whether your students can really explain on their own. All right. Very good. Carlo, so far,
Yes, sir.
most of your answers are accurate and you're making it easy for me. Okay. The
Thank you,
second
sir.
one, based on the case. So, how is content validity determined when given the objectives and the items in the test? So, the table of specification will now have the objective in one column and the corresponding item in the second column. So, how is test validity now determined when it's given to the coordinator?
Um, may I read it again, sir? How is content validity determined when the given objectives and items
Mhm.
in the test? I think, sir, it will be determined based on the number of days.
Um, let's say I didn't put the number of days. I have the objectives in the first column and the corresponding question on the second column. And then I gave that to the coordinator. How will the coordinator know if that is valid? If that item is valid, given the objective?
Um, Napaisip din ako, sir.
Hmm.
Ah, I guess through giving the exam itself, sir. The
The
test,
items?
yes, the items.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hello, sir.
So how will the coordinator know if it's valid? Let's say in the first column, it's written there, you explain the water cycle. And then in the next corresponding column, it says there, explain the process involved in the water cycle. So how will the coordinator know if that question is valid?
Um, may medyo
Okay, what do we
naano
need?
ako, sir.
Okay, what do we need
Med,
to look at? What do we need to look at?
the I guess, sir, yung ano po. You are referring to ano po, how do we know if the level of the
Mm,
targeted objective is being ano po, targeted?
mhm, mhm.
The level, I guess, sir, the ano po, the taxonomy.
Mm, actually, the taxonomy can already be identified because it says explain water cycle, and that's already under understanding.
Under understanding.
Okay, so it only belongs under one taxonomy. But you need to look at the content of the item. What should be the content of the item to say that it is going to be valid?
The content of the item should um ano po, should contains the objective.
Yes, agree. Okay, that's how we actually determine if it is
Valid.
valid. If the students are actually doing and demonstrating what the objective is saying. That's why every time that we make table of specification, it's impossible to determine the content validity if the objectives or the learning competencies are not there.
Okay, sir.
Okay, third question. What should be present in the table of specification when determining the content validity? I think this is already given.
Again, sir, what should be present in the
Mhm.
test
Table
table
of
of
spec.
specification
Mhm.
when determining the
Mhm.
content validity?
Mhm.
The objectives.
Okay, and
The objective and the what? Ay, sorry. Uh the question, sir? The
yes, these
objective
are
and the
two
question.
important things. These are two important things that needs to be in the table of specifications. The objective should be there and the corresponding item to
Item.
determine the content validity. If one is absent, we will not know whether it has content validity or not. Okay, last question on content validity for you. Who checks the content validity of items?
The teacher,
But the
the
teacher made the items.
The coordinator, sir.
The coordinator.
The
Let's say the
coordinator.
school doesn't have a coordinator.
The principal.
The principal or the assistant principal. Okay, checks. All right. Now, let's say that the teacher is a science teacher, but the principal, let's say, is a home economics major. Would that help?
Somehow, sir, if
Somehow.
somehow.
Okay. All right, everybody, let's have an exercise. So thank you very much, Carlo. Thank you very much, Carlo.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're good. Next, Christian, Nino, Sasa, Christian. You ready? Christian? Christian, Nino, can you unmute now? Christian? Oh, Christian is missing now. Okay, Katz Bautista.
Yes, sir.
Okay, your turn now, Kat. So we're going to I'm going to present to you an exercise applying the things that I have talked about with Carlo a while ago. All right, I'm going to present to you an objective and the specific item, and then tell me if the item measures that objective by saying yes or no. And for the rest of you in the audience, okay, when I say send, everybody type in the chat box the item number. For this case, it's 1. And then beside 1, give your answer whether it is yes or no. And then cats, don't look at the chat box. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So here is the objective. Given a performance of an instrumental or vocal melody containing a melodic or rhythmic error, and given the score for the melody, be able to point out the error item. The instructor will play the melody of the attached musical score on the piano and will make an error either in rhythm or melody. Raise your hand when the error occurs. Okay, hold on, Kat. Ready, everybody? Send. Put the item number 1, then yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hindi naglagay ng item number si ano ha, si Aislinn. Aislinn, put the item number 1 dot and then yes or no. Also, Lorna, you didn't put the item number. I can see you. Okay, I'm looking at your answers. Okay, so this is a chat waterfalls. Okay, Cats, what is your answer?
Yes, sir. It is suitable to the.
Okay, the major point here is for the students to be able to point out the error in the musical score. So, Cats, how did the students point out the error?
Upon raising their hands, sir.
By raising their hands. Very good. So this is aligned. So is there content validity for the item? Cats?
Yes.
Yes, there is content validity. Okay, Cats, let's go through the second item. So we'll do it in the chat box first for everybody. Okay, so number 2. The objective is given mathematical equations containing one unknown, be able to solve for the unknown item. Sam weighs 97 kilos. He weighs 3.5 kilos more than Barry. How much does Barry weigh? Okay, everybody,
Yes,
write
also.
your answer in the chat box. Okay. Yes, I can see now your answers. Interesting. Yes, I can see all of your answers now. Aldeguer, Realingo, you didn't put the item number. Okay, so let's work it out with you, Cats. What is your answer? Is this aligned or not? Yes or no?
It's aligned, sir. It is a yes also.
What subject are you teaching,
Math.
Cats?
Math, sir.
Ah, exactly. Okay.
God.
Cats, look at this one.
Yes.
Given mathematical equations, Look at the word problem. Who is going to generate the mathematical equation here? So actually, this is 97,
Yes, sir.
97 plus x.
X. Yes, sir.
Yes. Because x is Barry's age.
Yes, sir.
Mm. So yes, who is going to generate the mathematical equation here? Cats.
It's Barry, sir. Because Barry is equal to 97 plus.
No. If you give this word problem to the students, who is going to generate the mathematical equation? Who is going to generate 97 plus x?
It's the student, sir.
The students. Read again the objective, Cats.
Given mathematical equation
Mm.
containing one unknown.
Given mathematical equation. Go back to the word problem. Is there a given mathematical equation?
Yes, sir.
Where? Where?
That is the second sentence. He weighs 3.5
But
kilos.
is it given? Or the students will have to generate the equation?
They have to generate, sir, of course.
They have to generate, meaning to say the equation is not yet here, right?
The equation is there, sir.
Not yet, but is it indicated? Nakalagay ba na 97 plus x?
No, sir.
Cats? So it's not yet here. The equation is not yet here. Look at your objective again, Cats. Given mathematical equation. Let me ask you again the question. Is the mathematical equation given?
No, sir.
No, it is not given. So therefore, my next question for you is the problem solving item here aligned with the tama yung equation ni Eddie Bear? Yeah, it's 97 minus 3.5 actually. Okay, yes. So let me go back again to my original question, Cats. Given now this particular item, is it aligned with the objective? It is not. Therefore, if we go back to everybody's answer in the chat waterfalls, all of you have said yes. So your answers are wrong. So this item is not, bago ng answer si Eddie Bear. Okay, I can see now the answers here. Jel Cornejo also changed his answer. Yeah, it's okay to change your answers because you realize something. It means when you change your answer, it means that you have learned and analyzed deeply the situation. Okay, good. Okay, Queenie also changed her answer. Okay. Natutuwa si Jehovah. All right. Yes. So Cats, so this is not aligned.
Not, yes, sir.
Yes. So the answer here is no. Okay, let's go to number 3. Okay, the audience first. Okay, be able to demonstrate familiarity with sexual anatomy and physiology. Okay, item. Draw and label a sketch of the male and female reproductive system. All right, everybody, send. Let me see your answers. Let me see your answers. Okay, I can pinpoint later on who made the mistake because I can scroll back again. Okay, yeah, sige. Put your answers. Sabi ni proseso, must be a behavioral term. Familiarity can also be identified. Okay? Hindi sure si Jessel with question mark. James, what is E3? Okay. And then Edgar, you have to put the item number. Evelyn, you change your answer. Okay, sige. All right, Katz, what is your answer here? Yes or no?
I think it's a yes, sir.
Why?
The item has changed, sir.
Again?
The item has
changed. Nalipat po yung slide.
Nalipat yung slide? Ay!
Yes po.
Sorry.
Number 4.
We're number 3. Okay, sorry. Sir.
Yes.
We're on number
3.
3. Yes, sir. Okay. Cats.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there are 2 requirements here in the objective. The students have to show familiarity with, what are those 2 things? Cats.
Pardon, sir? Sorry.
The students will have to demonstrate two things as indicated in the objective. The first one is familiarity with,
With sexual anatomy and
and the
physiology.
second one, familiarity with
Physiology, sir.
physiology. Okay. Cats, anatomy is, what do you do in anatomy?
Anatomy is a different.
Let's say, cats, this is the heart. What do
Okay.
you do in anatomy? What do you point out in anatomy?
The different parts, sir.
The different parts. That's anatomy. Okay, let's go to the next familiarity. Cats, physiology. So let's say one of the parts in the anatomy of the heart is the vena cava.
What?
So what is physiology? Physiology is the what? So vena cava is one of the larger veins that pumps the blood out.
Yes, the function itself, sir.
The function. Physiology is the function. Look at now your item. There are two requirements, cats. Anatomy, parts, and physiology, the function.
It's a no, sir.
Look at the item. Draw. And then label.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. So it's not suitable.
So again,
No, sir.
no, it is not aligned because we are only labeling the parts, which is
Without even
only
mentioning the function.
anatomy. The functions are not required. That's why the answer here is no. So Placido changed his answer. Okay. So tama si Ryan. It depends if it's a superior or the inferior vena cava. Okay. Yes, the vena cava victivar is the biggest vein. Okay. Yes, so the answer here is no. Okay, Joseph Abuhela humabol ng answer after our analysis. All right. Yes. So the answer here is no. So this item is not aligned with the objective, cats.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, cats, is it easy to determine if an item has content validity or not given the objective?
The fact that I made the 2 mistakes already out of 3, sir, it's not.
Okay, what is the difficulty that you were encountering, cats?
Maybe because, sir, first is I'm not a science or music teacher. But
Yung math nga rin, hindi mo rin nakuha una eh. And you're teaching math. Okay, what was the difficulty, the specific difficulty that you're encountering?
one is the lesson itself, sir. If you don't know the lesson, of course, you will not be able to
Yeah, I
read.
think, okay. So I think one difficulty here as well is looking at and understanding the specific behavioral term being required.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
like for example, you neglected to look at given mathematical equations. Okay, you neglected to look at both physiology and anatomy, right?
Yes.
So you need to carefully look at the objective and operationalize how it's going to be done when you make your question or assessment task. All right. So everybody, let's now go to number 4. Okay. Objective. Given any one of the computers in our product line in its original carton, be able to install and adjust the machine, preparing it for use. Criteria. The machine shows normal indication and the area is free of debris and cartons. Item. Select one of the cartons containing one of our Model XX computers and install it for the secretary in room 45. Make sure it is ready for use and the area is left clean. Okay, everybody? Right? Type number 4 and then yes or no. Send. Let's see your answer, everybody. Okay, JR is there. Sarah gave his answer. Elaine gave his answer. Evelyn, Andy. Okay. Read answered. Okay, Miss PB. All capital yes pa ha, Miss PB? Sige, Miss PB. Okay. Maybe. Edgar ha? Why are you not sure, Edgar? Okay. Carlo, you didn't put the item number. Mary May, you didn't put the item number. Okay. All right. I can see your answers. Okay. Miss Katz, what is your answer here?
My answer here is yes, sir.
Yes, this is a line. So you see, they need to prepare the computer to be used. You take it out of the carton, you set it up, and that's exactly the task that the students did. So this is yes. All right. Number 5. Okay, for everybody. First, when given a set of paragraphs that use words within your vocabulary, some of which are missing topic sentences, be able to identify the paragraph without topic sentence. Item. Turn to page 29 in your copy of Silas Marner. Underline the topic sentence of each paragraph on that page. Okay, everybody, type number 5 and send. Okay, I can see your answers now. Arsan, Nelson, Grace, Ivan, Andy, Evelyn. Okay, Zen, Giselle. Okay, Grace, I can see your answer. Joseph, I can see your answers. Okay. Yeah, Eileen, I can see your answers. Okay. I can see your answers. All right. All right. Nelia, I can see your answers. Adet. Okay. So let's go back to you now, Miss Katz. What is your answer, Miss Katz?
My answer is no, sir.
Okay, why not?
Because in our objective, we need to identify the in our objective, the topic sentence is missing. But in
Yes.
our criterion, the topic sentence, we need to underline or identify the topic sentence itself.
Yes, but in fact, what should we be identifying? Is it a topic sentence that we should be identifying or the paragraph?
Maybe the paragraph, sir.
The paragraph is what we need to identify. Paragraphs without topic sentence. But the item makes us identify the topic sentence, and that's a different skill, right? That's a different learning competence. So the answer here is no. Okay? So the answer here is no. All right. So, Katz, what did you realize in this exercise?
You really need to take a look at, sir, the objectives and every item very carefully.
Yes.
Terms that you need to use and really analyze if it's double or not.
Okay, yes. So, Katz, this is what we mean when we say content validity. The items needs to be aligned with the objective or the learning competency that you have.
Yes, sir.
All right. So therefore, Katz, this is how your table of specifications can look like every time that you submit it to your coordinator, your assistant principal, or principal when they check it. Put the standard here, okay, like the objective on the first column. The second column, put there the specific items, and then your coordinator will indicate whether it's accept, reject, or revise, and they put their comments here. Okay. Now, let's go on to the next one. The next one is phase validity. Thank you very much, Katz. Okay, so the next one. Our next volunteer after Katz is Maria Elmira Suficiera. Maria Suficiencia. Okay. Maria Elmira, hello? Hello, Elmira? Hello, Elmira? Okay, I think there's a problem with the audio of Elmira. Okay, Sherwin, can you go next? Sherwin?
Morning po.
Ayan, thank God, the audio is okay. Okay, let's work out on the next type of validity, which is phase validity. So the assistant principal browsed the test paper made by the math teacher. She checked if the contents of the items are about mathematics. She examined if instructions are clear. She browsed through the items if the grammar is correct and if the vocabulary is within the student's level of understanding. Okay, what can be done in order to ensure that the assessment appears to be effective? Sherwin.
What can be done in order to ensure?
What is the assistant principal doing in the situation? What is she doing?
Checking, sir.
Checking. What is she checking on?
The test paper done by the teacher.
What specific aspect of the test paper?
Content of the items po about mathematics. If the instructions are clear.
First,
and
if the instructions are clear. Okay, that's the first thing that she's checking. Second,
if the items are grammatically correct po.
Yes, that's the second one. If the statements, the sentences in the test are grammatically correct, that's the second one.
And the vocabulary of the student's level of understanding.
All right. So when you check on these three things, Sherwin, you are checking on the face validity. Face validity means there's no typographical error. The layout of the test paper is attractive for the learners. It makes them feel seriousness. Okay? There are no any errors. All right? That's face validity. Okay. So what practices are done in conducting face validity? Sherwin.
Practices. I'm not sure.
So the test paper is given to the
practices. To the test paper po, ibibigay po sa students po.
Students ba binigay? Ito mga situation?
No, sa assistant principal.
Okay. Or let's say for example, the assistant principal is not there. To whom can you give it to?
Sa po sir, sa coordinator po.
Okay, you can give it to your coordinator, to your co-teachers. And then the task is for them to
check po.
Check. Okay, to check. Po. Yes, those three. And that's a practice of conducting face validity. Okay. Sherwin, a little bit more difficult question for you. Why is face validity the weakest form of validity?
Siguro po sir, hindi po siya katulad dun sa content validity na i-examine po yung alignment po ng objectives tsaka yung test items. Dito lang sir, tignan lang po if tama po yung construction ng sentences, if clear po yung instructions para po hindi po mahirapan yung mga students, and if meron po mga words na masyado pong hindi po parang readability po para sa mga bata.
All right.
So, kailangan po ng tamang po sa level of understanding po talaga nila.
All right. So that's what face validity can only
be doing.
Do. Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Sherwin. Okay, so you're lucky, Sherwin, ha? The easiest part got to you.
Yes,
okay.
Kinakabahan ako, sir.
Okay, so Sherwin, you're done. Okay, next, Riza. Risa Domingo. Hello, Risa. Where are you, Risa? Okay. Okay, so Risa retreated already. Miss Levy Serrano.
Hello, sir.
Levy, that's you now?
Yes, pa.
Okay, Levy, let's now go. Okay, Miss Levy, let's now go into criterion prediction validity. Okay,
Hello, sir.
So the school's admissions office developed an entrance examination. The officials wanted to determine if the results of the entrance examination are accurate in accepting the good students. They took the grades of the students accepted for the first quarter. They correlated the entrance exam results and the first quarter grades. They found that there was significant and positive correlations between the entrance examination scores and the grades. The entrance examination results predicted the grades of students after the first quarter. There was criterion, prediction, validity. Okay, so Levy, here are now the questions. Okay, why are the two measures needed in the criterion prediction? What are the two measures that we had here, Levy? Let's go back. What are the two measures?
Entrance
and the
grades, predicted grades of the
Yes.
students.
Yes, those are the two measures. So why are they needed? Why do we need two measures?
We need the two measures, sir, so that we would know kung nag-a-align sila, nag-jive sila. Yes, sir.
Can you explain further the nature of that jiving?
Um, Sir, can we go back to the question muna,
Okay.
sir? The school's admission development entrance examination. The officials wanted the results of the entrance are accurate in accepting the good students. They took the grades of the students accepted for the first quarter. They correlated the entrance exam results and the first quarter grades.
Okay.
They found that there was significant and positive correlations between the entrance examination scores and grades. The entrance examination results predicted the grades of students after the first quarter. There was criterion prediction validity.
Okay, let's go back now. So why do you need two measures?
So that the prediction will be aligned to the result.
Okay.
The result will
Let's
be
ask for
aligned to
help.
the.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Levi, what are you teaching?
English, sir.
For what level?
Grade 10.
Okay. Jerwin, turn your microphone on. Jerwin Ablay. Jerwin, let's go through this one. Hello, Jerwin. I can see that you're getting the accurate answers, Jerwin. Hello, Jerwin. Okay, ayaw ni Jerwin. Proseso per turbos.
Yes, sir.
Ayan, si proseso na lang. Proseso. All right. So why do we need two measures in this particular case? Why do we need both the grades and at the same time the entrance exam results?
Because we need to look at if there is a correlation.
Yes.
And, or association.
Yes, proseso. You're actually accurate. You need these two measures because we need to correlate them eventually. Okay. When you have now these two measures, what are we assuming between these two measures, the grades and the test scores, proseso? What are we assuming between the two of them?
This is just a try, sir, but I think there should be a positive correlation between the two. Otherwise, if it's negative, then we can say that there's no predictive validity on it.
Okay, that's accurate, proseso. Okay, you're assuming that there's a positive correlation between the grades and the test scores. Now, can you explain to us what does it mean when you say there's a positive correlation between the test scores and the grades?
That means that if one component is
If the test scores are
if the test score rises,
okay,
that means the other component also rises. That means
the grades also.
Yeah, the grades will also have to. It will be a good predictor that the performance or the grades of the students will have to increase at the end of
yes. Yes. Okay, that's accurately stated, proseso, that when the test scores in the entrance exam are increasing, the grades are also increasing. Okay, now proseso, let me make it a little bit more difficult for you. If I will graph in the x-axis, okay, the grades, and graph in the y-axis, the test scores, what will my graph look like if I will project a straight line? Proseso.
If you're going to put the grades on the x-axis and the test scores on the y-axis, sir, I think they should be anyway. Correlation is not for independent anyway. There should be a diagonal line going up.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And let's say assuming we have about 50 students, so the scatter plot, okay, should assume, okay,
a straight line. Yes.
Diagonal. Kasi pag
Sorry.
straight na flat, okay. So I think diagonal going up like that. Yeah. So
right.
that's a proof now that there's actually a positive relationship,
Relation.
or when the grades increase, the test scores in the entrance exams are also increasing. Okay. Look at the third question, proseso. How can we determine if a measure has criterion prediction?
This is one of the questions that also I have a different context in mind kasi sir.
Sige.
What I do know is that I only know about criterion being broken down into concurrent and predictive validity, but I still have a lot of questions on
Iba.
Yes.
Oo,
So yun,
iba. Oo.
that's something I would really admit I can't answer for now.
Actually, if we go back to the case, okay, di ba? When you
Well,
correlate,
maybe
you get a correlation coefficient, right? Right. What should the, well, if I restate this one into technical terms, what should the correlation coefficient be to say that there's criterion prediction?
Positive.
Yeah, one, the
0.3.
correlation coefficient should be positive, good, and
Hopefully the value is at 0.3 or above, but
yeah, the
0.3
correlation should be at least moderate to large, good, and it should be.
I don't know the other one, sir.
Okay, let's go back to the case to help you with that. Okay. Look at the second to the last sentence. Read the second to the last sentence. Proceso.
The entrance examination results predicted the grades of
Second to the last.
Sorry.
Second to the last sentence.
Yes, sir. The entrance examination results predicted the grade of the student.
Second to the last. Sorry, third to the last.
Okay. So they found that there was a significant and positive correlations between the entrance exam scores and grades.
So first, positive, second, large, then?
Yeah, significant.
Okay, so another requirement that we need to have is that the correlation coefficient should be significant. Okay, Professor, can you explain briefly how do we determine if the correlation coefficient is significant?
That's something that I'm also exploring as of now, sir.
But you're able, Professor,
yes?
you can explain the concepts behind questions 1, 2, and 3. So you need more guidance on how to determine whether it's significant or not.
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
do need
Generally, you make isn't it that you get a correlation coefficient value from 0 to 1, right?
Yes.
The closer is the correlation coefficient to 1, the stronger is the relationship between test scores and grades, let's say, for example, of the two variables. All right. However, at certain times, let's say you got about 0.5. That's already a moderate correlation, but we're not sure whether it's significant or not. You can get a large or a moderate correlation, but it may or may not be significant. When you say it's significant, we're assuming that the correlation is not due to chance. Okay? That large correlation or that small correlation value is not due to chance. That's what we mean when you say significant. That's why in order to test if that value is not due to chance, you take out 1 out of the sample. When you take 1 out of the sample, you're actually computing for what we call a degrees of freedom. You're taking out a random error out of the sample. And when you start posing your assumption in question number 2, that there is a positive correlation between grades and students' test scores, you're actually hypothesizing now. And when you start assuming that hypothesis, we do not 100% guarantee that that hypothesis, that there's a positive significant correlation between students' grades and test scores. We do not guarantee 100% of the time that that's going to be true. And therefore, we assume that there's a certain level of chance or error. And the chance or error that we attribute to our assumption in my question number 2 is about 5%. And that 5% is our standard in the social sciences. So meaning to say, we are confident that 95% of the time, we are confident that there is going to be a connection or a correlation between students' test scores and their grade. Therefore, we are assuming a 5% error. So when we test now our correlation coefficient, whether it's significant or not, it needs to exceed that 95% confidence. When it exceeded that 95% chance, let's say 96% chance, and therefore our error now is only going to be 4% because we are confident it's 96%. Therefore, the results are significant. So every time that you exceed your confidence of 95%, then it means that the results are significant. In this case, the correlations are significant. And we make use of a correlation coefficient called the Pearson R. And we compare that Pearson R correlation coefficient value with your standard cutoffs within 95% in the distribution. And it will tell us whether you exceeded 95 or not. All right. So let's continue on. I think I've already mentioned to you the answer to this question, proceso. What statistical analysis is done to determine criterion prediction?
Correlation, sir.
Yeah, you did correlation coefficient. Like what I've mentioned, a more specific correlation coefficient values that we use if you have two interval variables, such as your grades and such as your test scores, okay? You use the Pearson R. If you're correlating two ordinal value, okay? You're familiar with this one, proceso? If you're correlating two ordinal values,
Yes, sir. I forgot the term, but it was mentioned yesterday.
Spearman law. Okay, Spearman law.
Ordinal, yes, Spearman. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And if you're correlating two variables that are dichotomous or two categories each, you use the phi coefficient. Okay, there are some of you that are explaining already the concepts between the 95 confidence level and 5% error. Okay. Like for example, Mac Gabriel said that if your p-value is actually the remaining area when you exceeded the 95%. So that's your p-value. Mac, you just add hindi 0.5, it's 0.05. Okay, yeah. Jeneline, correct. P is less than 0.05. Jerwin, correct. If the computed p-value is less than 0.05. Right. Spearman Raw, Pearson R. You're right. So your answers are, yeah. So look at the chat box. Mr. Jomkli Manalo provided us a guide here to determine whether it's significant or not. If the p-value or that remaining portion of the distribution that exceeds your 95% value, that's your p-value, is less than 0.05, then it's significant. But if the p-value is greater than 0.05, then your correlation coefficient is not significant. Okay, so I think John Klee provided us on how to interpret the results of the criterion prediction. Okay, yeah, it's there in the chat box. If your p-value is less than 0.05, it's significant, and if the p-value is greater than 0.05, not significant. All right. So this is your criterion prediction.
How about on cases in which there is a high correlation but it's not significant?
Yes. Let me give you a particular case. Let's say your observations are only 10. You have only 10 participants. Even if you get 0.89, it's not going to be significant. You need to get a value, a correlation coefficient value of at least 0.97 for that to be significant. Yes.
Also, verify on that matter. Every time we do correlation, we really need to get the p-value. Because
yes,
coming from the perspective that, yes, we do correlation, but sometimes we do neglect or we do miss out the significance part. And that's why when I was asked a while ago, I miss out on that because I'm confused on that concept. So
okay.
it's really a must, yes, sir, to confirm.
Okay. Now, these are many ways of interpreting your correlation coefficient value. One, if it's positive or negative. Second, if it is large or small, strong or weak correlation. Third, if it's significant or not. However, take note, proseso. There are some studies where the significance of the correlation is not needed. As
Okay.
long as when they're only after the strength of the correlation, regardless of whether it is significant or not, because of constraints on sample size, then that's already enough in reporting it. Okay? What do you mean when you say constraints in sample size? The study has few observations, let's say only 10, but you get large correlations such as 0.90, 0.92, which explains the data sufficiently. That's why they don't look at significance anymore, because they are after the size of the correlation. So in those particular cases, they're looking only at the size and not the correlation. However, these are the three things that you always look at every time that you have correlation coefficient values. All right.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
okay. Let's proceed to the next one. All right. Here are some of your guide for the statistical analyses involved in the criterion prediction. Okay. Usually, if you use the test scores to predict the students' grades, okay, in order to interpret that one as a prediction, if certain variances of the test scores explains variability on students' grades, okay, you use a multiple regression. Okay, the predictor in the multiple regression would be the students' test scores, and the criterion, the one that you are predicting that will come in the future after the first quarter, are the students' grades. Okay, so there are two things here. There are two variables now. Your test score are the predictors, is the predictor, and the student's grades is the criterion. Now, the predictors need to significantly explain and contribute to the variation in the criterion. And when you use multiple regression, that contribution is what you call as beta weights. Okay? And the overall prediction, okay, let's say that your entrance exam is composed of 3 parts: English, math, and science. So each one of them contributes to the criterion on the overall students' grades after the first quarter. If you want to determine if these 3 parts of your entrance exams overall predicts students' grades, you interpret by looking at the adjusted R squared value. Okay? Sometimes if you have several components in your predictor and several components in your students' grades, you use other techniques such as structural equations modeling. All right, let's move on to the next one. Thank you, Proceso, for helping us out on that one. Okay, let's now move into construct validity. Okay. So Riza is done. Miss Levy is done. Okay, Miko John Lopez. Miko? Miko? Hello, Miko? Can you unmute now? Miko? Okay, I think Alexander de la Cruz would be able to help us better on this one. Okay, on construct validity. Alexander, can you unmute? I think you will be able to answer much of this one because you're a little bit familiar with the statistical analyses. Jet, you can't do analysis of variance because you're not comparing groups. Okay, Alexander, can you unmute? Alexander? Hello, Alexander de la Cruz. Okay. Miko? Miko John Lopez?
Doctor, I think Sir Miko has an internet connection.
Okay, okay. Sige, let's try Miss Odette. Miss Odette?
Yes, Doc. Good morning.
Okay, Miss
I'll try
Odette.
to answer as much as possible.
Okay, okay. What are you teaching, Miss Odette?
I'm actually a physical therapist, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, I think you'll be able to do this one.
Oh my
All right.
God.
All right. So this is on construct validity. Um, in our concept on content validity and criterion, content validity suffices Messick's definition of validity as for the theoretical rationale. When we went into criterion prediction, it suffices whether our empirical evidences are supporting our theoretical rationale. Construct validity puts everything together in the definition of Messick's concept of validity. Okay, let's go over the case first. So a science test was made by a grade 10 teacher composed of 4 domains. So the science test has matter, and of course, there are items under matter, living things, force and motion, and earth and space. There are 10 items under each domain. Okay? So 10 items under matter, 10 items under living things, 10 items under force and motion, and 10 items under earth and space. So all of these 4 are the domains. So the teacher wanted to determine if the 10 items made under each domain really belongs to that domain. The teacher consulted an expert in test measurement. They conducted a procedure called factor analysis. So factor analysis is a statistical procedure in determining if the items written will load under the domain they belong. Okay, ready, Miss Odette?
Yes, Doc.
All right, Miss Odette. Okay, what type of tests can construct validity be used? Look at the tests that we have. Can you characterize the test that we have here?
I think, sir, if these are 10 items under each domain, I think this is a multiple type question.
And the test is composed of what?
This is composed of exactly equal items under each four tests or 4 topics, no, maybe
Yes.
representatively.
Okay, yes. Yes. There are 4 topics, and these topics we call as, Miss Odette?
Domains.
Domains. If the test is composed of several domains, at least more than one, like for example, the domains here, matter, living things, force and motion, earth and space. Okay, as long as the test is composed of these particular domains, somebody else is duetting with me. Okay, so if a test is composed of domains, okay, then means to say we can do construct validity for that test. Okay? Now, so therefore, what type of test can construct validity be used? If the test is composed of multiple domain or topic, like what you call it. Now, what should the test have in order to verify its construct? Okay.
I think, sir, for that matter, because you said that construct validity is the overall definition of what validity is. First, it has to be to satisfy that there is phase validity. Second, that there has to be criterion, like content validity and at least phase validity, sir.
Okay, yes, I agree with you. First and foremost, the items, for example, under living things should all be within about living things. The items under force and motion should all be about living things.
Yes,
so meaning to say, preliminarily, those items should have content validity under that domain. Okay, yes, that's one. Okay, check. Okay, that's also what Messick explains. Okay, now look at the third question. What are constructs and the factors in the tests? Actually, these are also the other names given for domains.
Yes.
Constructs and factors are also other names for domains. So in the test, what are the constructs or factors that we have?
The factors include matter, living things, force and motion, earth, and space.
All right. Yes. Okay. These are the constructs. Okay. Ivan said here, okay, that one of the requirements to answer question number 2 is that the items within each domain should highly be correlated. Yes, that's an accurate answer because that is actually the answer, okay, to number 4. Okay, Ivan, you provided answer already to bullet number 4. Okay, yes. So the constructs and the factors are the force and motion, living things, earth and space. Okay, let's now go into item number 4 that Ivan already answered. How are these factors verified if they are appropriate for the test? And Ivan provided an answer to us. And that procedure, Miss Odette, if you go back in the case,
Called
okay?
factor analysis.
Yep. They conducted a procedure called factor analysis. And Ivan explained that factor analysis to us. Basically, factor analysis is a way of checking whether those 10 items that belongs under that domain are highly correlated with each other. And if those items are 10 items are highly correlated with each other, it means say that they are measuring that domain because they are all highly correlated. And that's the basic procedure to understand factor analysis. And the procedure on factor analysis is going to be taken up, I think, on Saturday in my schedule. Okay, next week.
Yes po, Doc.
Yes, Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes, it's going to be taken up on Saturday in my schedule. So, but basically, this is the concept behind the factor analysis. Okay, so what result? Okay, Miss Odette.
Yes,
So, what
Doc.
results comes out in construct validity? If you go back to the case again, look at the last sentence.
Yes, I think each item will be analyzed and each item will have a correlation coefficient, I suppose, that determines whether these items, say for example, item number 9 really belongs to matter, or item number 8 really belongs to living things, item number 7 to force and motion, something like that. Sir.
Accurate. Okay, your answer is accurate. That's exactly how I wanted it to be. Okay, so in the procedure, in the factor analysis, let's say, for example, if items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 really belongs under living things, each of these items will have a value called a factor loading. And if you have a large factor loading for those set of items, it means to say that these item really belongs under that domain, that factor, or that construct. And then it means to say that we are now able to prove construct validity. I think, Miss Odette, you're getting it. Okay? Yes. So that's also how we interpret. So if the factor loadings, which are actually correlations by nature, are high for that item under that particular domain, okay, then it means we now say that that item really belongs to that domain, and there is construct validity. Okay? So the construct validity of a measure are reported generally in journal articles. That's why you will notice sometimes that when they describe the instrument, they will tell you that factor analysis was conducted and the 4 factors or the 4 domains were proven. They will tell you that. Okay? So the following are your guide questions. Okay? When searching for the construct validity of a measure from journal articles. Okay? Here are some of your guide questions. What is the purpose for doing construct validity? So construct validity usually are done when you don't have any factors yet for your test items and you wanted to determine what are those factors. That's one purpose for doing. There's one kind of factor analysis for doing that, and we're going to take that up on Saturday. There's also another kind of factor analysis where you already have your domain set and the items already set under each one, and your aim is just to prove whether those set of items really belongs under that domain, like the case that we have talked about. So these are two purposes of conducting the construct validity. And then what type of test was actually used? Are there single domains, 2 domains, 3 domains, 4 domains? Okay. What are the dimensions of the factors? Where are these factors coming from? Okay. So what procedure was used to establish the construct validity? What statistics was used for the construct validity? What were the results of the test construct validity? So these are some of your guide questions if you are after the construct validity of a scale when reading journal articles. Okay. Jet is asking range values of R. Okay, so if you wanted to interpret the range values of R, if you get if you get 0 to 0.2, that's small. 0.21 to 0.40, that's moderate. 0.41 to 0.6, moderate. Until 0.60, moderate. 0.61 and above, that's large, Jet. All right. So Messick said that construct validity is a combination of all of this. Okay, so construct validity involves content validity, like what Miss Odette has mentioned to us. If those 10 items are really under living things, they should have content validity. They should be aligned with the objectives under living things. Content validity is a requirement for construct validity. Substantive validity is also, okay, part of it. It's substantial. Your correlations among the 10 items within that domain are substantial. Okay, they're at least highly correlated. Structural, you're able to prove that the 4 factors are really true and against 2 factors, against 3 factors, that's structural. Generalizability, is it true that the 4 factors will hold true across different sample? External validity, when you compare it to another set of criterion or another set of students that didn't go through the science curriculum, same science curriculum, will they be able to show the 4 factors as well? Consequential validity. If you have this group of students who goes through a different curriculum, will they be able to answer or not the items in your test? This is consequential validity. And all of these things are within construct validity. That's why construct validity subsumes the entire definition of Messick on validity. Okay, furthermore, here are some of the 2 important techniques, statistical analysis that you do to prove whether the items really belongs to a particular domain or construct. These are the statistical analysis that you're going to use, and this is what we're going to talk deeply on Saturday. So first, you have the principal components analysis. Remember a while ago, I told you that one of the purposes of doing factor analysis is to determine what are the underlying factors given the items if you don't know the factors yet, and you do principal components analysis for that. You also do confirmatory factor analysis if you already have established or given set of factors, like the case of the science test that has already 4 domains, and you just wanted to check whether each of those 10 items will have a significant parameter estimate under that domain where we said they should belong. And we're checking also whether the latent factor are related to each other. Your latent factors are your 4 domains. You also want to check if your data supports the model through goodness of fit estimates. We wanted to check, let's say you have 100 students who took that science test. You wanted to check whether those 100 students fits those 4 domains that you have set for your item. So this is what we call goodness of fit estimates. And this is what we're going to talk about next meeting. And we demonstrate making use of a software, okay, on how to do both principal components and the confirmatory factor analyses. All right. Basically, when I was conversing with Odette a while ago, we were saying that a particular item, okay, would really belong under that factor if they load, okay, highly under that factor. So in this particular case, I'm illustrating here. So we made items that measures self-disclosure. So this is the extent to which we open up information about ourselves to others. Okay. And in this particular analysis, okay, we wanted to uncover what are the underlying factors. This is actually principal components analysis. And the analysis, when we did the principal components, provided us 5 factors. You will see here that items 1 and item 7, sorry, loaded under factor 1. How did we say that they load under factor 1? If the factor loading is about 0.4 and above, it means that it loads under that factor. Also look at item number 4 and item number 5. They loaded under factor 2. Also the same thing with item 9 and item 51. Okay, so this is what happens in principal components factor analysis. So after that, look at the contents of item 1 and item 4. I share my views about God. I don't make my intentions a secret. Try to look at the commonality in the content and then give a name for that factor. Also, if you look at, I feel opening up my personal problems to others. I feel opening up my situation to others when troubled. I open about my admiration towards the opposite or same sex. I tell my friends about any problems. Okay, so this is self-disclosure on personal problems because all of them are about personal problems. Okay, so that's usually what you do in the analysis after you uncover which items really belongs to each other. Look at the content, provide a name for the content. Okay, here is an illustration on how you do confirmatory factor analysis. You already set what the factors are. Let's say in this particular study that we did, that was published in the International Journal of Educational Psychological Assessment. This is 2000, I think, 12. Okay. We forwarded a factor structure that when English teachers provide feedback on an essay, they provide feedback in terms of form, content, and style. And we wrote specific items under feedback on form, content, and style. And we wanted to prove in the analysis that these are really the items under each one. So we loaded already those items under each of the factors, and it gives us a parameter estimate for each of the items under that particular domain. So the domains are the spheres, and the items are represented by the rectangles. So it gives us particular parameter estimate. So if that parameter estimate is significant, it means to say that that item belongs under that factor. So we'll talk more in detail of this one on Saturday. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is concurrent validity. Okay, we're done with Miss Odette. Okay, Rex Salvador. Can you unmute now, Rex?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, okay, Rex, that's where concurrent validity with you. So a school guidance counselor administered a math achievement test among the grade 6 students. She also has a copy of the students' grades in math. She wanted to verify if the math grades of the students are measuring the same competencies in the math achievement test. So the school counselor correlated the math scores and the math grades to determine if they are measuring the same competencies. So we're illustrating here concurrent validity. All right, look at the first question, Rex. What needs to be available when conducting concurrent validity?
What should be available are the scores, the grades
How many?
of
How many?
students.
How many sets? How many sets? At
At
least.
least 2.
Yes, at least 2, so that you can do the correlation. So at least 2 tests are available. Okay.
Yes, bro.
I think that's also a prelude to our second question. At least how many tests needs to be present? At least 2. All right. Now, when you have these 2 sets of tests, and when you try to correlate them, Rex, next question is it sensible to correlate what data do we have in the previous example? You have math grades and math achievement test scores. Is it sensible to correlate them, Rex?
Yes po.
Why?
Because that would measure if that the grades of the students will have correlation to their scores in the achievement test.
Okay. Why is it sensible? So achievement test in math is what the students have learned from the math instruction. Grades reflect students' performance academically in math for each quarter as well. Why is it sensible to correlate the two?
That would also give us idea about if the students scores in their previous quarters really contributes to their scores in the achievement test.
Yeah, possible if you wanted to do a prediction for that one. Okay, yeah. It's sensible because first and foremost, if you look at the case, both of them are measuring what?
The same competencies.
Yeah, both of them are measuring the same competence. That's why it's sensible. So this is one criterion before you actually do concurrent validity. Even if you have two or more measures, make sure that it's sensible. It makes sense when you correlate them together. Okay, let's review here, Rex. What statistical analysis can be used to establish concurrent validity?
Um, I think it's Pearson R. I'm not sure.
Okay,
Or
because both are, it's Pearson R, because both are interval. Okay, yes. So how are the results of the correlation coefficient interpreted? So when the scores in the achievement test increases,
Yeah,
then
even it's high. There's a likelihood that their scores in their grades will also be higher.
in math, right?
Not
Yeah, so when the achievement test scores in math increases, the grades in math will also increase. So that's our interpretation. Okay, so I think this is what you answered. Okay, so you can use simple linear regression using Pearson R, or you can do confirmatory factor analysis. So this is your grades in math with multiple components, and these are your achievement tests in math with multiple factors as well. So you can do confirmatory factor analysis for the two of them, and we'll talk about that next time. All right, thank you very much, Rex. We'll have to reset again to Carlo again. Okay, Carlo, your turn again. We'll reset.
Hello, sir.
Okay, let's work out on convergent validity. So, math teacher again. Tama-tama, Carlo, ha? Okay, so a math teacher developed a math test that will be administered at the end of the school year that measures number sense, patterns in algebra, measurement, geometry, and statistics. It is assumed by the math teacher that the students' competencies in number sense help students learn better the patterns in algebra and other areas. After administering the tests, the scores were separated for each area of these 5 domains. And these 5 domains were intercorrelated using Pearson R. So the positive correlation between the number sense and patterns in algebra indicates that when the number sense scores increase, patterns and algebra scores also increase. This shows that the students learning in number sense scaffold patterns and algebra competencies. What happened here is actually convergent validity. Okay, Carlo, what should a test have to conduct convergent validity?
I guess, sir, it's somehow the same with the use of the criterion prediction, wherein you apply the Pearson R as mentioned a while ago.
Okay, let's go back to the case. Look at what you have in the tests. So the test has items for number
The number
sense.
sense, pattern in algebra, measurement, geometry, and statistics.
Okay, what do you call those 5?
These are the domains, sir.
Domains, or another name for domains would be
Factors.
Factors, or letter C,
constructs.
Construct. So what's the answer to number 1?
So what should a test have to conduct and convert? The construct validity, sir. So you have to
the test needs to have factors.
The factors and constructs, sir, of the
factors, constructs, or domains. The test needs to have that.
Yes,
okay, yes. Number 2. What are done with the domains? What did you do with the domains in the procedure?
Sir, can you go back, sir, with the it is mentioned there that the competencies with the math teachers, the competencies and number sense help better. Okay, so they apply, sir, the analysis, which is the Pearson R, if they are intercorrelated to each other.
Yes, you intercorrelated the domains. That's what you do in convergent validity. If those factors in the tests really is referring to one test, they need to be correlated with each other. That's why we intercorrelate the factors. Okay. Look at the next question. What analysis is used to determine?
Sir, they apply the Pearson R, wherein you
Okay.
should know if there is a positive correlation between the number sense. Yun, sir, yung diniscuss ko.
Okay, yes. If you get a positive correlation, then there is convergent validity. What if it happened that the number sense is negatively correlated with patterns in algebra? Did you achieve convergent validity?
I guess, sir, no. No,
No,
sir. Yes, sir.
no, because you need, in a sense, theoretically,
They
okay,
should
number
jive.
sense is needed in order to move forward to patterns in algebra. Okay, so you should not get a negative correlation. If you get a negative correlation, then there is no, you did not achieve convergent validity, right? Okay, so that's the idea of convergent validity. You need to get, or you need to have a positive correlation given the theoretical rationale. And what is the theoretical rationale here between
The
the number
theoretical,
sense?
it is said here that the rationale, this shows that the students learning in numbers and scaffold the patterns, sir.
Yes, that is your theoretical rationale. That the students first needs to have mastery on basic operations. Okay, and if they have mastery on the basic operations, then they can now do patterns in algebra. That is your theoretical rationale. And if that theoretical rationale is true, it should have a positive correlation between these two factors. That's why if you get a positive correlation, then you are proving your theoretical rationale. Then there is convergent validity. But if you get a negative correlation between numbers and patterns in algebra, you are not proving your theoretical rationale. That's why you did not achieve convergence if you get a negative correlation. You get it?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. This is also another way of doing your convergent validity. All right, let's move on now to divergent validity. Thank you, Carlo. Okay, let's move on again now to cats. Cats. Hello, cats. Hello, cats. Can you come back, cats? Ala, nawala si
Doc, we can call
Okay, sige,
another
sige.
one.
Ivan Saligumba. I think, Ivan, you can actually answer these questions here. Ivan. Hello, Ivan Saligumba. Ivan. Ivan. Ivan has accurate answers, actually. Okay, Alexander. Can you unmute, Alexander? Ito na lang si Mr. Jomkli Manalo. Mr. Jomkli Manalo, please unmute. Hello, sir. Hello, sir, Jomkli.
Wala po ata, Doctor.
Ah,
How
wala
about
siya.
Doc si Ma'am Catherine? Doc Catherine de la Torre.
Okay, Miss Catherine de la Torre. Okay, Miss Catherine. Okay, Jet, you want to try this one? Jet Gelekanau.
Yes, sir. Good morning po.
Okay. You want to try this one out? Okay,
Okay po.
divergent validity. So divergent validity is something similar with convergent validity, the one that we had in all procedures. There is only difference in terms of the theoretical rationale. Let's take a look at it. Okay. An English teacher taught metacognitive awareness strategy to comprehend a paragraph for grade 11 students. She wanted to determine if the performance of her students in the reading comprehension would reflect well in the reading comprehension test. She administered the same reading comprehension test to another class which was not taught with the metacognitive awareness strategy. She compared the results using a t-test for 2 independent samples and found that the class that was taught metacognitive awareness strategy significantly performed higher than the other group. The test has divergent validity. Okay, sir? Let's have the questions now. So what conditions need to be present to conduct divergent validity? Yes, Sir Jet?
Hello, sir. Hello po.
Yes,
What
yes.
what conditions need to be present to conduct divergent validity? So can we go back to the text?
Okay, sure. Okay.
Sir, I think these are the it has something to do with the metacognitive awareness strategy po.
Okay, so one group was given metacognitive awareness strategy, the other group was not
Yes.
given. But both of them were tested on the same reading comprehension scale.
Yes,
Okay?
two classes po.
Yes. In the end, what happened is that that class who received the metacognitive reading strategy had higher scores than the other class.
Group. Opo.
What condition do you have here? How many groups do you have?
We have 2 groups.
Okay, and you're assuming what would happen? What should happen to these 2 groups?
I assume that both of them will perform. Both of them will perform high, but it was not expected that with the use of the metacognitive awareness, the other class performed higher than the other group.
Okay, therefore, we're expecting that the performance of the 2 groups will be
higher.
One of the groups will perform higher. So if one group performed higher and the other one will not, so therefore, the performance of the 2 groups will be what? One group is high, one group is low.
Divergent.
Divergent, or in other words, the performance of the 2 groups will be what?
There is a
significantly D. Yes, I think some of you are already giving the accurate term here.
Yes, the difference, sir.
Yes, you're expecting that the performance of the 2 groups on the test would be different. And that's one of the conditions that you need to set in divergent validity. Jet, huh?
Significant
a while
difference.
ago, oh yes, a while ago, Jet, you asked about analysis of variance, right?
Yes.
You can now apply the analysis of variance here. If you have 3 groups or more, and you're assuming that the performance of the 3 groups on the same test will be different, then that's one way of proving divergent validity. Okay, so I think we've talked about this one also, the second question. What assumption is being provided in divergent validity? So what is the assumption?
The assumption is that 2 classes will perform differently.
Yes, that's the assumption there. Because the other group received
the metacognitive process in the other
what do you
group.
call that? What do you call that? When you give something to them that will help them improve their performance. What do you call that usually?
An innovation or intervention.
Okay, yeah, an intervention. And usually we call it in studies as an independent variable. All right. So look at the next one. What statistical analysis can be used to establish divergent validity? If you go back to the case, the statistical analysis was mentioned here.
The analysis of variance.
Or in this particular case, what was used?
A t-test for independent sample.
Yeah, t-test for 2 independent samples. All right. So how are the results interpreted? Okay, if we go back, how are the results interpreted?
The results, yes po.
Sige.
The results interpreted is it means that it is highly significant. There is a highly significant difference between
Between
the two groups, but because the class was taught the cognitive awareness performed higher than the other group.
Okay. So it means that there's now divergent validity. Okay, yes. Jet, thank you very much.
Thank you po.
Jet, so this is divergent validity. So Jet, here are some of the statistical analysis that you can actually use for divergent validity. So you can use linear regression, and when you get a negative correlation, okay, that's also divergent validity. For example, you have a motivation scale. 10 items measure intrinsic motivation, 10 items measure extrinsic motivation. So you're expecting a negative correlation between intrinsic and extrinsic, right? And if you get a negative correlation, then you achieve divergent validity. Jet, you're familiar with the growth mindset framework of Carol Dweck?
Not that familiar, sir.
The fixed and the growth mindset. Okay. For example, you have the mindset scale. 10 items measure growth mindset. Another 10 items measure fixed mindset. Growth mindset, Jet, means that you're open to learning. Fixed mindset means that you believe that you're born with only this set of skills. Therefore, if you're born with those skills, you will not learn anything new anymore because you're poor at it. Okay? So if you correlate those items under growth and fixed mindset, would you expect a positive correlation or a negative correlation, Jet?
Pardon, sir? If I...
If you
Sorry, I'm
correlate
analyzing.
the items
Yes.
of the fixed and the growth mindset items, would you expect a positive correlation or a negative correlation?
I think, sir, negative.
Negative. If you achieve negative result in your analysis, then
Yes, yes.
achieve divergent validity. Or you can also do group comparison like what we did in the scenario. You can use t-test for two independent samples. Or you can also do confirmatory factor analysis where you compute for group invariance. You can also do item response theory by computing for the differential functioning, differential item functioning, or the DIF of each of those items. All right.
So I have a question.
Okay,
I
go
have a
ahead,
question.
Jet. Go ahead, Jet.
So I think this fix and the fixed sample
Growth.
and the growth was also used by in the corporate world. And if ever, sir, that you have a negative result out of this, does it mean that from those negative results, the enhancement program of a certain institution will be based from that, from this statistical analysis?
Okay. If you're after the intervention, okay, you don't have any problems with people getting high scores on the growth mindset. Your problem now would be those people getting high scores on the fixed mindset.
Yes,
Therefore, make your program for the people with fixed mindset because they will refuse to learn new things. What will you do with them? So you now start to create such intervention where consistent feedback are given. You now start to put them in new situations so that they will force themselves to learn new things. These are some interventions that you do with people with
So
fixed
I'll get
mindset.
the percentage of those with fixed mindset and those with
get the scores of the people for both growth and fixed mind. Dalawang score yung lalabas dun sa test. Sa isang tao, dalawang score. One score for the growth, one score for the fixed. Tapos may cut off yung scale kung mataas or malaki. Kung mataas or mababa yung score niya, may cut off. Let's say mataas yung score niya sa fixed mindset. So then get all of these people who have high scores on fixed mindset, then do the intervention for them.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Where are you working, budget? Where are you working?
Actually, sir, in SEO Mandaluyong, I'm one of the supervisors So I
Okay.
handle people.
And you
That's why
wanted to
I asked.
and you wanted to determine their growth and fixed mindset. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
So,
our USAID project for supervisors and school heads for region 5 and 6. We're looking at their growth
oh,
and fixed mindset as part of their instructional supervision process. All right, you can just email me so that if you want to have the tool later on. Okay.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Hindi libre. Joke.
Okay.
Alright. Okay,
Sige
let's
po.
move on. Nakikipagkwentuhan ka sa aking jet, ha? Okay.
Thank-
SDO Mandaluyong?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Division of Mandaluyong.
Ah,
DepEd
okay,
Mandaluyong.
okay.
Thank you
Okay, who
po.
is your SDS now? Before it was Ma'am Nanet Losaria, right?
Yes, it's Dr. Romela Cruz. She's
Si
also
Ma'am Romela.
professor, di ba, sir, sa UCC. Apo.
Okay. All right, everybody. So let's now have an exercise. I'm going to give you a particular scenario, and then you will have to tell and indicate in the chat box whether this the kind of validity being referred to. So what are the kind of validity? Content, phase, criterion prediction, okay, construct, convergent, divergent. Okay, so you have 6. Let's review. Divergent, okay, convergent, concurrent, okay, and then you have construct, criterion prediction, phase validity, and content validity. So did you remember, everybody? Okay, so when I say go, type it in the chat box, and then we'll work it out with somebody again. Miss Odette? Miss Odette?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, so you'll be the voice. Don't look at the chat box, huh?
Okay.
Okay. So when I say go, everybody type the type of validity to type the item number first, and then your answer on the kind of validity. And then Miss Odette will verbally give her answer when I ask her again. Okay, the audience first. So the science coordinator developed a science test to determine who among the students will be placed in an advanced science section. The students who got high scores in the science test were selected. After 2 quarters, the grades of the students in the advanced science were determined. The scores in the science test were correlated with the science grades to check if the science test was accurate in the selection of students. What type of validity was used? Okay, everybody, type number 1 and send. Yes. Okay, Ma'am Odette, what is your answer?
Criterion prediction, sir.
Yes, this is criterion prediction. What is your predictor here?
The predictor will be the test score, the science test score.
Yes, and the criterion.
And the criterion is whether they will be given, they will be placed in an advanced science after 2 quarters.
The criterion.
Science grade, sir.
Science grades.
grade.
All right. So majority of you in the chat box gave the correct answer. Okay. Next, number 2. A test composed of listening comprehension, reading comprehension, and visual comprehension items was administered among the students. The researcher determined if the scores on each area refers to the same skill on comprehension. The researcher hypothesized significant and positive relationship among these factors. Okay, what validity was used? Everybody type number 2 and send. Okay. Okay, Miss Odette, what is your answer?
I think this is construct validity.
Construct?
Yeah.
Okay. The domains are given, right, Miss Odette?
So that would be listening, reading, and visual.
Okay, and what did we do with the 3 domains?
We correlated the relationship among these factors, the 3 factors.
Okay. Okay. And what was the hypothesis initially of the researcher?
That there will be a positive relationship among the 3 comprehension factors.
Right, because when the student are good at listening comprehension, they should also be good at reading comprehension and visual comprehension, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're not looking at the item level.
Okay, concurrent. That would be concurrent, sir.
But it only belongs in one test.
Yes, that would be concurrent.
These three only belongs in the one test.
Construct pa din, sir.
If I'm good at one factor, I should also be good at the other factor in the same test.
That would be concurrent, sir. Kasi two sets of tests must be sensible.
Okay. You have a two set of tests here, but you only have a single test, Miss Odette.
If this is intercorrelated, sir, convergent validity.
Yes,
Convergent,
this is
intercorrelated,
convergent
tatlo.
validity.
Tatlo pala
Okay.
sila.
So may mga nagpalit ng answer. Ha? Kitang-kita ko yung mga nagpalit ng answer dito sa ano. All right, yes, this is convergent validity. So take note, in convergent validity and in divergent validity, you only have one measure. You're correlating and intercorrelating domains within that single measure. All right, next, number 3. So the guidance counselor made an interest inventory that measures the factors: realistic, investigative, artistic, scientific, enterprising, and conventional. So the guidance counselor wanted to provide evidence that the items constructed really belongs to the factor proposed. After her analysis, okay, the proposed items had high factor loadings on the domain that they belong to. So what validity was conducted? Okay, type number 3 and send. All right, so Miss Odette, what is your answer?
Construct validity, sir.
Yes, this is construct validity. Okay, what helped you decide and made that this answer that this is construct
There are
validity?
there are different factors: realistic, investigative, artistic, scientific, enterprising, and conventional factors.
And
that of your the objective was to make sure that the items really belong to that factor.
yes, and she did, and the guidance counselor conducted
factor analysis.
Yes. Okay. Construct validity. Okay. So all of you are correct in the chat box. Okay. Next, number 4. The technology and livelihood education teacher developed a performance task on students' competency to prepare a dessert. So the students were tasked to select a dessert. They have to prepare the ingredients. They need to make the dessert in the kitchen. The teacher developed a set of criteria to assess the dessert. What type of validity is shown here? Everybody type number 4 and okay. Okay. We have mixed of answers now. Oh, sige. Miss Odette, what is your answer?
This is both content and face validity. Because
this is content. Yes, I agree with you. This is content validity. Yes. Okay, because what is the competency?
Yeah, that they must be able to prepare the dessert.
Yes, the competency is given. So therefore, the teacher will have to align the criteria on that competency. This is content validity. Okay, yes. Number 4 is content validity. And there were variations in the answers. Dalito yung iba. Okay? There were some saying concurrent. There were some saying, there were some saying concurrent. Concurrent, pag merong statistical analysis, wala naman statistical analysis involved in content validity. Okay. Next, number 5. The teacher in a robotics class taught students how to create a program to make the arm of the robot move. The assessment was a performance task of making a program to make 3 kinds of robot arm movement. The same assessment task was given to students with no robotics class. The performance on programming of the two classes were compared. What validity was used? Okay, type number 5 and send your answer. Okay, come on, everybody. Let's see your answer. Number 5. Number 5. Yes, I can see your answers now. Yes, yes. Okay, Miss Odette, what is your answer in number
That would
5?
be divergent validity, sir, because one group had
Divergent
an
validity.
intervention and the other one did not have it.
Yes. Okay, this is divergent validity. One group will perform better. Okay, so the instrument should be able to discriminate that. All right, next. Oh, that's it. Okay, everybody. Thank you, Miss Odette, for
Thank you, sir.
participating, and thank you, everybody in the audience who participated in our waterfall chat. Okay, yes. So probably we can have question and answer now. Okay, please give me 30 seconds. Let me just go to the restroom for a while.
Afternoon, everyone. If you have any question po, you may now type them in our chat box. And once Dr. Magno returns, he will answer it po right away.
Okay. Sige. Sige, sir. Let's now do the question and answer.
I think, Doc, wala naman pong mga tanong. They all understood.
Okay, ako magtatanong. Tingnan ko yung makakasagot sila. Okay. Yeah, in case you have some questions, you can unmute and you can ask your questions now. Okay, so most of them
Hi, Doc.
are... Yeah, Miss Odette, go
Can
ahead.
I ask a question? This is
Okay.
from a physical therapist perspective, no, looking at assessment tools or assessment. We actually have different sets of, I'm sure that you're aware of this, like you as a social worker, you have different, say for example, tests for psychological well-being and all that. I am actually confused about content validity because in terms of what we were taught was that in terms of content, we just look at the number of items. Say for example, if there are 5 domains, then each domain should have at least an equal number of items. And if the items are not equal in number, then we have a problem called construct underrepresentation. And if it is a problem of construct validity, then we have a problem called construct irrelevant variance, meaning that number, say for example number 10, okay, does not necessarily measure, okay, what it's supposed to measure. So I was thinking of content as maybe the number of items versus the construct validity, meaning is it really measuring what it's supposed to measure? Thank you, Doc.
Okay, actually that's accurate. One way of putting content validity is by looking at the representation of the number of items for that particular domain or for that particular factor. The more indicators that you have for that particular domain or for that factor means to say that you are representing well, okay, that particular behavior or that construct that you are measuring. That's why probably they required at least there are 5 items. Just take note that when you require a certain number of items, make sure that it has adequate number of indicators that corresponds to 5 items. For example, if one behavioral indicator, can you give me at least one behavioral indicator that will have 5 items, Miss Odette, in the present tools that you have?
I don't have it, sir, but say for example, we have the Western Ontario University, McMaster University, knee disability pain questionnaire, sir. There are 3 domains, so that would be symptoms, function, and pain. So one
Okay.
domain actually has, like the stiffness, only has 2 questions,
Okay.
while the function domain has 17 items. And each of these
Okay.
items are rated on a Likert, on a 5-point Likert scale.
Okay. Okay. Okay, yes. Number one, that would guide you in terms of the number of items and how large the items would be is the definition of stiffness and the definition in terms of the function.
Function. Yes,
If
sir.
there are several functions defined, therefore, it would correspond to several items as well.
Yes,
If
sir.
there are only few indicators in the definition of stiffness, then it is likely that you will also have few items. So in scales and checklists such as this one, it will depend on the definition and the standard indicators that you have for each one. That's why they require a certain number of items like 5. Yes.
Okay, thank you,
That's
Doc.
content validity. That's
Thank you,
content
Doc.
validity as well.
Thank you, Doc.
Mhm. All right. Anything else? In Divergent, Jerome said, in divergent validity, needed po ba na matest ang homogeneity ng two groups in terms of their knowledge on the topic before conducting the teaching part of the intervention? Well, possibly if you want to, if you want them to have the same level of ability, if you want them to have the same level of interest initially before you provide your intervention, you can have that one to control differential item, to control some differential characteristics of the participants. Yes. Okay. Jerwin, how could we establish internal and external validity? Okay, internal validity, Jerwin, means to say that you're looking at intercorrelations of the items of a single test. You're not yet looking at other tests in relation to that single test. That's internal to the same test. It starts to become external validity when you use other tests to correlate it with another test. When you have another group who took the test and you will be comparing it to the other group, then that's already external. Okay, Edgar. Okay, this is not related to our topics, but are you in some way affiliated with SDO Muntinlupa? Miss Phoebe, affiliated daw ba ako sa SDO Muntinlupa, Miss Phoebe?
Afternoon. Actually po, Dr. Magno is, we requested Dr. Magno as one of our speakers, especially for Tassom Action Research in Muntinlupa, SDO Muntinlupa.
Yeah, I think Sir Edgar is asking the question because I'm familiar with the different SDOs and SDS around the Philippines because I know all of them. I worked with all of the SDS in the leadership training that was provided by the Australian government through the basic education sector transformation because that's why all of the SDS went through with me in their leadership training. That's why I know most of them, Sir Edgar. Yeah.
Yes. Sa best po.
Yeah, sa best. Yeah, and now I'm with ADB and USA. That's why it's now easy to communicate with the SDOs. All right. Who else? What else?
Last, Doc, pwede po, isa pa.
Okay.
Okay. Doc, are you familiar with minimal detectable difference and minimal clinically important difference? Kasi
DID as well. Yes.
Kasi po
difference in difference as well.
Yes
Yeah.
po. Kasi ano po no, I find myself slightly not belonging to the group because I noted that these are mostly math teachers, but in physical therapy kasi in health sciences we're not looking at really the statistical significance or the statistical difference between
kasi
the groups,
maliliit
but
ang
we're
sample
looking
size ninyo kasi
so we're
cases sa
looking
inyo.
at so we're looking at clinically important difference. Are we also
Yes.
going to do that in terms of validity testing, Doc Magno?
Okay. Yeah. What you actually do here to report your DID is not really to look at the significance at certain times, especially when you have small sample sizes. Kasi sometimes your cases are very few for that particular illness, symptoms, or disease. So what you look at is how large are the differences. So you compute for effect sizes like Cohen's D, Hedges G. So you use them as evidence of your DID.
Thank you, Doc.
So this statistical analysis does not require tests of significance that where large sample sizes influences the results.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay. So is it okay, Ivan said, is it okay to represent one variable with just one item for statistical analysis? For example, length of study time. Pwede, sir. There are some experiments in journals reporting such as length of study time in hours. Then they have to indicate, yes, this is also possible. Okay, that there are only some one item. So there is what we call a single item theory that explains all of this one. And generally, again, taking off from the discussion that we had with Miss Odette a while ago, the number of items that you will have will depend really on the conceptual framework of the variable that you have for that particular variable. If your conceptual framework for study time is defined by the framework in terms of hours, then I think it's sufficient to have one item for that when you conduct a particular study. Yeah. Yes, Sir Ivan. It's also possible. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Sige.
I think
Okay
wala
na.
na po, Doc. Okay po. Thank you so much, Dr. Magno. We'll see you again po next week. May I just request for a short picture taking po? Everyone, please turn your camera on po. Yan, mabilis lang po. Ready, first frame. 1, 2, 3. Second frame. 1, 2, 3. Third frame. 1, 2, 3. Fourth frame. 1, 2, 3. And last frame. Okay po. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Magno. Doc, maraming salamat po. We'll see you again next week po. Thank you po. Have a good lunch, everyone. Thank you po.